one is don't buy a bunch of tools you don't need, right? Or don't implement a bunch of stuff that you don't need. Really stick to fundamental security from a detection, prevention, early prevention side. The other piece is that, for us, when I first came on 5, 6 years ago here at ClearDATA, we use a lot of point products that an organization typically could use, and there's sensors everywhere and there's all kinds of alerting, but there's a lack of intelligence on the front end that really helped shape how these systems would be deployed. And so we shifted gears and really took an intelligence first approach here. So everything we do is centered around the foundations of threat actor profiling and then really understanding intrinsically who are the threat actors and groups that are focused on healthcare. And in doing that, you're able to really tailor your solutions to detect the threats that are actively targeting the industry itself versus having to cast this super wide net where we have to have all these different random alerts, every single thing on your SIM turned on, right? Instead, we focus on what is active in threat landscape and relative to an environment like Greg's or some of our other customers, right? So that for me is a big one. Reduce tools and be aware of your surroundings, the situational awareness, right? And put countermeasures in place that are there to catch those sort of threats that are actively targeting you versus trying to catch everything on the internet, because most of it's noise. Yeah, and to come back around to a point I don't think I made, which is bends off the concept of actively applying intelligence throughout your security program, but proactively addressing things is also could have been on my list of things that I gave you to begin with. You don't want to sit back and wait for alerts. You want to get after problems early on. And so that for us as an MDR service provider kind of manifests itself in two ways. One is like I mentioned, the threat actor profiling and really understanding the TTPs that these actors utilize to work or to gain access in their environments and then work laterally within them, but also understanding vulnerability intelligence relative to the campaigns that these folks are enacting. So one of the most well-known ones like the last couple of years, like Log4Shell and Log4j. Well, early on when that started to happen, we quickly started to fingerprint different threat actor infrastructure that was utilizing those exploits to target customer environments. Well, the best thing we could do was work with our customers to update their applications. It wasn't necessarily to put firewall rules in place to block IP addresses that were constantly going to change. And so if you get ahead to kind of the reactive piece of this, which is, oh no, I've had an alert that's telling me that something bad has happened, and instead you focus on how do I solve the problem before the alert ever happens, you really drastically decrease the amount of alerting that you're gonna have to deal with. And that's one thing we do a lot of, is really over the last few years, we've tried to make this shift to where the vast majority of cases that we work for customers should be focused on proactive security versus reactive security. And so I want to tell Greg more frequently about bad things out in the wild than I do want to tell Greg about bad things that are knocking on his door, potentially if gained access, right? And so that's been a huge area of commitment for us, both from an intelligence side of the house and also from a SOC perspective.